Good morning, everyone. Since last July, I have been talking on this text, Opening the Hand of Thought. I think I gave 7 lectures, and I just finished the prefaces. So today I start the page 1 of the main part of this book. The older version of Opening the Hand of Thought is this book, and this was published in 1993 or 4 or 5. And since then, I gave a series of lectures on this book several times. Those occasions I gave talked on specific topics, several specific talks from different parts of this book. But this time I'm thinking to read paragraph by paragraph, entire text, until we get tired of it. Maybe sometimes we get tired. So today I start to talk on the part 1. The title of this section is Practice and Persimmons. And the first part of this part 1 is how does a persimmon become sweet? Let me read the first paragraph. The persimmon is a strange fruit. If you eat it before it is fully ripe, it tastes just awful. Its astringency makes your mouth pucker up. Actually, you cannot eat it unripe. If you tried, you would just have to spit it out and throw the whole thing away. Buddhist practice is like this too. If you don't let it really ripe, it cannot nourish your life. That is why I hope that people will begin to practice and then continue until their practice is really ripe. So he started to talk about fruits named persimmon. Do you know what persimmon is? Have you eaten persimmon? Have you?
Are the Japanese kind different than the ones we have here?
Yeah.
They're a lot different,
I'm going to talk on what persimmon is. Actually, I look up dictionary what persimmon is. But after that, I need to talk on what this persimmon means in terms of Buddhism. Why not Dogen, but Okumura Roshi picked up this example of persimmon as a kind of a metaphor of our practice. So first, I'd like to talk on what is persimmon as a fruit. It said persimmon. There are 2 kinds of persimmons. Let's see. Where is it? One kind, the Latin name of persimmon is D O S P Los. I don't know what this means, but Dios has something to do with God, I think.
I think that's to something. Deo
To.
would be God,
Oh,
but I'm
Okay.
not sure. It looks Greek.
one kind of persimmon is Diospyros virginiana. This is American persimmon.
Mm-hmm.
And second kind is Diospyros kaki. First and second. And kaki is a Japanese name for persimmon. So there are two kinds. And I looked up a few dictionaries. One dictionary said persimmon is, as Okumura Roshi said, indigenous of Japan. But another dictionary said it's from China. And we are not sure. Probably, long time ago, when the mammoth was alive, Japan was part of the continent. So, it's not separate from the continent. So there's no such distinction between Japan and China, probably. Anyway, the persimmon we eat in Japan now came from China. That was true. The big fruit. And it said persimmon was transmitted to Europe by Portuguese in the 17th century. So if you find a persimmon tree in Europe, that's from Japan. And it said from Europe, it was transmitted to America. And I'm not sure, the American persimmon and Japanese kaki are the same thing or not. Whether it transmit this Diospyros virginiana came from Europe or not. But this word, persimmon, English word persimmon, is from Indian language. So it's not the name persimmon is not from Europe. So American Indian or Native American had persimmon. And as Okumura Roshi said, until it's very ripe, it's not eatable because of astringency. And a cause of astringency is named tannin. Do you know what tannin is? It's a kind of a chemical stuff used to make leather, to make from the skin to leather, make a skin into leather. And tannin also has a make how can I say make protein become solid. That's why we feel astringency when we ate. And it said there are not two kind, but two conditions of tannin. In certain condition, tannin can dissolve in the water, and another condition, it doesn't dissolve. And when it dissolves in the water, it makes our mouth, astringent, so we couldn't eat. But once it become a condition, tannin became a condition which doesn't dissolve in the water. It doesn't cause astringency. So it's up to the condition of tannin. It becomes astringent or not astringent. So when the persimmon fruit is unripe, the tannin in it is dissolved in the water. That's why it tastes astringent. But once it fully ripened, the tannin became what we call, it cannot be dissolved in the water. That's why we just feel sweetness. And according to the dictionary, this is very important, meaningful for persimmon. That means until it's fully ripened, fruit is not eaten by animals. That means protect the fruits from being eaten. So, this is kind of a very kind of a wisdom of nature to protect the species, the plants. And persimmon is the reason why Okumura Roshi used persimmon as a metaphor of our practice. I think came from, or at least his inspiration came from writing by Menzan entitled Jiju Zanmai. And this Jiju Zanmai is, of course, very important expression in Dogen Zenji's teaching. In Bendowa, Dogen Zenji named his zazen Jiju Zanmai. And this writing by Menzan Zuiho, he was one of the most important Soto Zen master. He was a very great scholar monk. And he, not a lot, but he gave lectures on all 75-volume Shobo Genzo. And his lecture was recorded, and it's one of the most important commentary on Shobo Genzo. And he also wrote biography of Dogen. That was what we have been studying on Wednesday. Anyway, this writing, Menzan's Jiju Zanmai, not Dogen's, is part of this book, Dogen Zen. And this was written as a kind of a zazen instruction for lay people. And Menzan wrote in a introduction that when he was in Kyushu, some lay people want to practice zazen with him, and they ask him to give some instruction. And he tried to find, because those are not monks, they didn't read Chinese. So they tried to, Menzan tried to find a good instruction or manual of zazen written in Japanese, but he couldn't find any. Dogen's Fukan Zazen was written in Chinese, and many or almost all important writings was written in Chinese, and those are not available for lay people at the time of Menzan. So he decided to write his own manual of Zazen to explain what's the meaning of Zazen practice to lay people. That was the reason he wrote this writing, Jijuyo Zanmai. So in this writing, he tried to explain the meaning of Zazen. And about the middle of this writing, he raised a question about Zazen. And the question is, if we must emit the light and open our eyes to the reality which is beyond arising mind or thought and no mind or no thought, then do we annihilate the good and bad functions of the three poisonous minds? Explain this in detail. So, this question is in our Zazen, what we should do about our mind or about our thought coming and going. I translated this Japanese word, nenki. As a arising mind. But I'm not sure this mind is a good translation for nen or not. Nen is more like thought. When we mind, the original word for mind is shin. So maybe thought is better in this case, arising thought. So in our Zazen, of course, as we always experience, all different kind of thought are coming and going. This arising is, mind or thought coming up. And in the previous section, as a Zazen instruction, Menzan said, we must emit the light. This light is komyo. Ko is light or radiance, and mei is brightness. So if we must emit the light, this light means the light of Buddha's wisdom and compassion, and open our eyes to the reality which is beyond arising mind, so beyond thinking actually, and no mind. No mind is munen. So munen. So actually no thought. So thought and no thought. And this nen is also translated into English as a mindfulness. In the eightfold correct path, the seventh shonen is translated as true mindfulness. This nen is a kind of interesting Chinese character. This part means present, and this part means mind or heart. So mind at this present moment is nen. So the condition of mind heart of this moment, that means some kind of thought is coming and going. Or if there's no thought coming up, that is mu nen. And usually in Buddhism or Zen, the condition of enlightenment is considered to be mu nen, no thought arising. That is enlightenment, because thought is delusion. That is a kind of a common understanding about Zazen or Zen and enlightenment. When in the condition when we sit and no thought arises, nothing come up, so we are really free from our thinking. That was enlightenment. It's a kind of a common understanding. So there's an expression mu nen and mu so. So is a translation for perception. So no thought, no perception is considered to be a condition of enlightenment. But here Menzan said we should go beyond the dichotomy because between munen and arising mind or thought. That maybe as a dichotomy, it's better to use the word unen. U and mu is dichotomy. So, what Menzan wrote before is, in our Zazen, munen is not really enlightenment, but we should go beyond a dichotomy of unen and munen by just by emitting the light of the Buddha's wisdom and compassion. So this question is, when do we annihilate the good and bad functions of the three poisonous mind? Three poisonous mind is, of course, greed, anger or hatred, and ignorance. Those are three poisonous mind. And three poisonous mind, at least here it says three poisonous mind has not only bad function or negative function, but also has a good positive function. But the question is, should we eliminate all those three poisonous mind or not? This is the question. So the question is, what is the relation between unen and munen, thinking and not thinking, and beyond thinking, and what this three poisonous mind, that is our usual way of thinking or our mental condition, while we are self-centered. Because we are self-centered, our thinking becomes three poisonous mind, and it has both positive and negative functions. Positive means we can, because of three poisonous mind, we can protect ourselves. If we don't have self-centeredness, we cannot keep this body and mind alive. So it's a protection. And yet because of three poisonous mind, self-centered mind, we have problems with other people and we suffer. So what shall we understand about this thing? Without thinking, we cannot live as a human beings. But thinking is a cause of transmigration within samsara, and we suffer. So, what shall we do in our Zazen? That is the question. And Menzan gave a long instruction about this point, and I think this is a very important point in our Zazen. So probably this morning I only talk about this before starting to talk about what Uchamura Roshi is saying, because what Uchamura Roshi is saying is connected with this point. Otherwise, we don't really understand what he's even discussing about it. Menzan's reply to this question is, it is false to think that you have completely rid yourself of the three poisonous minds, since such a thing is impossible. So he's clearly said to eliminate three poisonous mind is impossible. And therefore, that is not the goal of our practice of Zazen. So what? You think this way because you stagnate in emptiness and remain attached to the state of no thought. As a common understanding of Zen or Buddhist practice, no thought is enlightenment, and unen or arising of thought is delusion. But according to Menzan, that kind of understanding is grasping or attach ourselves to the condition of no thought, and that is same as attachment to emptiness, cling to emptiness. So any thought coming up is delusion. So we need to eliminate all those thoughts. But Menzan is saying that attitude is so-called Hinayana practice. Of course, we should not use this word Hinayana anymore. But at the time of Menzan, that was alive. Anyway, so if we cling to the condition of no thought and think that is enlightenment, he said, if so, you will never attain Buddhahood. Even if one attains the state of no thought, such a practitioner with Hinayana attitude will never attain Buddhahood unless he changes his aspiration. Although non-Buddhist practitioners may remain without color and form for 80 kalpas, finally they will fall back into the samsaric realms of duality, because the result of such a practice is limited. Everything made up by illusory mind is limited. So the condition without thought, or condition without color and form, or materials, or this is one of the three conditions within so-called three world or three realms. The realms of desire, the realms of form, and the realm of no form. And first one, realm of our world of desire is the way we usually live. We are living, being pulled by our desire. And second, world of form is we are released from that desires, still we have forms. This is one of the condition of within our meditation practice. And the third is even those forms disappeared, and we just enjoy being there without form. But Fat Dogen, not Dogen, but Menzan is saying is those three realms or world is made by our mind, or even still desire. And Buddhism taught is we should get out of three realms or three worlds: world of desire, world of form, world of without form. That is, those three worlds are so-called samsara, and nirvana is leaving those three worlds and enter nirvana, being free from those three conditioned worlds. Only the Buddha way is limitless because it is not fabricated and is outside of illusory mind. The expression original face is a famous or important expression in Zen from the sixth ancestor. Original expression is Honrai no Menmoku. Take your time. 本来の面目. This expression, I think, as far as I know, first appeared in the Platform Sutra of the sixth ancestor. When Huinan, the sixth ancestor, received Dharma transmission from the fifth ancestor, he was not yet ordained, so he was a lay practitioner. And right after he received transmission with robe and oryoki, he escaped from the monastery. I don't think this is true. And people from the assembly chased after the sixth ancestor to get the oryoki and robe back. And they, this chasing for 1 month. And sixth ancestor arrived at a high mountain that's a kind of a border between north and south. And only one person, what do you call, found Huinan at the top of the mountain, and that person was very strong person. He used to be a general, military person. So Huinan probably thought he couldn't escape from that person. So he put the oryoki and robes on the rock and tell that person, if you want, take it. I don't want to fight again over those things. And the person tried to, hold those things, but he couldn't. And the person said, I didn't come for those things, but I came for Dharma. So he asked Huinan, please teach the Dharma. Then Huinan said, what he said, before or without thinking good and bad, what is your Hondai no Menmuk original face? What is your original face before thinking good and bad? Before any dichotomy, any thinking, or so same as arising thought. Good and bad is a function or arise within our thought. We discriminate between good and bad using our thought. So what Huinan said, before thinking good and bad, what is your original face? I think that is the origin of this expression. So this is, reality of our life. Okumura Roshi's expression, reality of life, refer to the same thing. The reality of our life before we, in Okumura Roshi's expression, before we process or cook using our mind or thinking. So the very fresh, raw life. And Menzan said, the expression original face means that which is not artificially fabricated. Whatever produced by our thinking is artificial fabrication. So when we stop thinking or let go of all those thoughts, we need to find this original face or true reality of our life. And what Menzan said is kind of a common theory of meditation, both in Buddhism and outside Buddhism. How can I say? Step-by-step meditation, which has stages from how can I say, shallow stage until deepest stage, or low stage until highest stage. And according to Mahayana Buddhism, there are 52 stages, and we should, step up one by one, and it takes more than forever to reach the 50 second stages. But according to Dogen and Menzan, that kind of stages are fabrication. The three poisonous minds arise within the function of one mind. This one mind is again one nen. And this one mind creates the three good realms. This one mind, our thought, creates the three good realms. If it is pulled by goodness, and it creates the three evil realms if it is pulled by evil. Depending upon how our mind function, our thought function, our thought create those 6 realms of samsara. That means hell, the realm of hungry ghost, animal, asura or fighting spirit, and human beings and heavenly beings. And first 3 are called evil realms. I don't know whether evil is the right word or not, but kind of difficult realms. And second three, Ashura, human and heavenly realms are called good realms, depending upon whether our mind is pulled by goodness or evil. We create those six realms. Or greed creates the realm of desire. This is the first of the three realms. Greed creates the realm of desire. Anger creates the realm of form. I don't quite understand why anger creates the realm of form. And ignorance creates the realm of no form. Maybe ignorance means no distinction, but I'm still don't really clearly understand what this means. But all those three realms are caused or created by our function of our mind. That is what Menza is saying. And this idea came from, I think, the Lotus Sutra, Sangai Ishin. Sangha is three, world or realms, and Ishin is one mind. That means those three worlds is just a creation of one mind. This is the way that the world as circumstances and the world of sentient beings are the six realms in which we go up and fall down, up and down within samsara, are fabricated. So those six realms are fabricated or created by our thinking. And Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, those are so-called Hinayana practitioners, are frightened by this transmigration within six realms and try to eliminate the three poisonous minds, which are the basic causes of transmigration, in order not to be reborn in the three worlds of desire, form, and no form. So Mendan's point is so-called Hinayana practitioners try to escape from those three realms of samsara by eliminating three poisonous minds, because they have fear for this transmigration within samsara. So they want to escape from this transmigration. And they call this depart from life and death, depart or being liberation from life and death. Life and death means cycle of life and death. That means samsara. But this is not the same as being free from life and death, as is the emancipation of the Tathagata. So, in Mahayana Buddhism, there's another idea of being free from life and death. Instead of escaping from life and death or escaping from samsara, there is another way to be free from samsara. That is the point of Dogen. I mean, Menzan. The way of great bodhisattvas is different. The basis of transmigration is nothing other than our own mind. So this is the same. Furthermore, when we clearly illuminate our mind, This illuminate is show. Show in the expression of moksho. Moksho is silent illumination. Is the name of our zazen in Soto tradition that was originally used by Rinzai master, whose name was Daiei Soko, to criticize Soto style of practice, just sitting silently and illuminate. And the point of Rinzai master's criticism is no function, no activity. It's dead. It's silent and no function. That is a criticism from Rinzai style of practice. But Daiei Soko's contemporary in Soto tradition, Wanshi Shohaku, used this expression moksho in a positive way. Actually, Daiei Soko said moksho ja zen. Ja means evil. But once you take this evil out, but he used this expression moksho or silent illumination in a positive meaning. So we just illuminate. When we clearly illuminate our mind and realize that this mind or nen is nothing but a phantom, and that we cannot grasp the mind by thought or discrimination, using concepts such as existence or non-existence. This existence or non-existence is U and Mu. To think, our thought is existence or U or non-existent or Mu is already our thinking. But when we just illuminate those, arising mind or thoughts coming and going, just illuminate. Without make discrimination, whether it's here or there, or it's good or bad. Then we no longer try to either annihilate mind nor nurture it. So we do nothing. Just illuminate what is happening. Instead, we simply illuminate it without adding thought or discrimination. So thought or our mind is, moving, and yet we don't add anything, any thought or discrimination. So we just do anything, but keep the mind moving. Just illuminating. When we just illuminate our mind without adding thought and discrimination, the three poisonous minds of anger, greed, and ignorance also have the nature of being dropped off. When we don't add any thought to that thought which is coming and going, that means our mind is moving, but if we, in our zazen, we think, these thoughts are not good, so I should eliminate, then this is a judgment. I don't, or I feel I don't want to have this thought. Then we start to fight against those thoughts to eliminate them. This is a way we add something to this natural movement of our mind. Then within our zazen we fight against our thought, or we try to escape from it. Anyway, in our zazen we completely stop that kind of activity. When we start to that kind of activity in our zazen, then within our zazen there's a separation between person sitting and the thoughts coming up within that person. That means there's a relationship between subject and object, and we start to fight against the object. If there's a separation between two parts, subject, object, and we make this discrimination, thinking is not good, so we should eliminate them, then our zazen is not really zazen. So we should stop it. And when we stop it, Menzan said that three poisonous mind which is moving have the nature of being dropped off. Dropped off is a famous and important expression of Dogen. That's raku. That's raku in Shinjin. That's raku. I often talk about this expression. That means to take off, and raku is to fall down. This means being liberated, being free from. So in the case of Shinjin, that's raku, is the Dogen's expression. Shin is body, and this shin is mind. So body and mind dropped off, or dropping off of body and mind. So when we didn't interact with this natural movement of our thought within our mind, then this thought is dropped off. It's there, but the root is cut off. That means, as I always say, the motor engine is moving, but the car doesn't move. That is dropped off means. So when we are sitting, no matter how many thoughts come up, we determine not to take any action based on those thoughts. Then the root of thought is cut off. So this is just a coming and going, like bubbles in the water. Whether it's a negative thought or positive thought, thought is just thought. If we make judgment and if we take action, if we don't take any action based on those thoughts, the thought is just coming and going, and it has no no power to make us transmigrate within 6 realms. And Menzan continued, that is, of being beyond discrimination and being ungraspable. So it's these thoughts, when we don't interact, when we don't judge, those thoughts are beyond discrimination and being ungraspable. We cannot grasp. The 3 poisonous minds are not a bit different from the eternal Dharma body of the Tathagata. This is very kind of a strong statement. Three poisonous mind and Dharma body of Tathagata are the same thing. Only if we don't interact and make judgment and start to fight against them. Three poisonous mind and Tathagata's Dharmakaya is the same thing. When we thoroughly realize that the three poisonous minds are nothing but the eternal Dharma body, Dharmakaya of the Tathagata, it becomes obvious that all sentient beings transmigrating in the six realms also have the nature of this eternal Dharma body and lack nothing. So when we really see three poisonous mind and Buddha's Dharmakaya is the same thing, we can see that all living beings which are transmigrating within samsara, that means people who are deluded, like us, are the same with Buddha's Dharmakaya. There's no distinction between enlightened Buddhas and those deluded people who are transmigrating within samsara. This is an expression of very basic teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. Samsara and nirvana are one, and enlightenment and delusion are one. Since we understand this reality, we arouse body-mind, way-seeking mind, or awakening mind, or bodhicitta, and vow to lead all sentient beings to the eternal Dharma body of the Tathagata. This is carrying out the practice enlightenment of a bodhisattva. So, because bodhisattva see the oneness or not two-ness of between deluded living beings transmigrating within samsara and Buddha's Dharma body. Therefore, bodhisattva allows a bodhicitta or awakening mind and try to lead those people or beings within samsara to awaken to that reality itself. That is bodhisattva practice. And the threefold pure precept to be observed by bodhisattvas. When we receive the precept, we receive threefold pure precept. Those precepts are practicing all good deeds, keeping all precepts, or refraining from all evil deeds, and benefiting all living beings. Those are the threefold pure precept. In my translation, recent translation, this is also my translation, but recently I used a precept of embracing all precept or moral code, and precept embracing all good deeds, and precept embracing all living beings. Those are threefold pure precept. So we try to, to live based on those threefold pure precept. Vowing to do all good deeds without exception is called Shozen-bokai, the first one. Means and change the order. Shozen-bokai is a precept embracing all good deeds. And the greedy mind of ordinary people is transformed and functions differently in this practice. That means when we receive the precept embracing all good deeds, we use this greedy mind to do any of the good thing. In order to do, all good things, we need greedy mind. And vowing to refrain from evil deeds is called Shoritsu Gikai, or precept embracing all moral codes. The angry mind of ordinary people is transformed and works differently in this practice. That means in order not to do evil or bad actions, we need anger against evil actions. So without this anger, we cannot practice this precept. And vowing to release innumerable beings from suffering by transferring the merit from the practice of refraining from evil deeds and doing all good deeds to innumerable sentient beings without exception is called Sho Shujokai, or the precept embracing all living beings. This means, we try to avoid evil or harmful actions, and we try to do good or wholesome actions. But the reason or goal to practice not to do evil thing or to do good or good things is not for the sake of this person, but for the sake of all living beings. That is the meaning of Sho Shujokai, or precept embracing all living beings. Then the ignorant mind of ordinary people is transformed and acts differently in this practice. So when we receive those threefold pure precepts and try to keep and live based on those threefold pure precepts, we use our three poisonous mind in different way. That means we use greed, our greedy mind, to do good thing, to help others, and we use our anger to not try to do evil or bad or unwholesome thing, and we use our ignorance to embrace all living beings. Means there's no separation or discrimination between self and others, or friends and enemies. We should try to help all beings. That is ignorance. As bodhisattvas, we must continue the practice enlightenment of these three pure precepts until we complete ultimate awareness. Ultimate awareness is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So we keep this practice, not doing evil thing and doing all good things, and to help all living beings. We practice based on those threefold pure precepts until we complete Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. That means we become a Buddha, actually. And when having attained Buddhahood, those three poisonous mind are called the three virtues of the Tathagata. That is the virtue of wisdom, which breaks all ignorance and actualizes ultimate awareness or awakening. The virtue of exhausting all delusions, which actualizes ultimate nirvana, and the virtue of compassion, which releases all sentient beings. These three are also referred to as the three Buddha bodies, that is Dharma body or Dharmakaya, reward body or Sambhogakaya, and corresponding body or Nirmanakaya. All of them are different aspects of the eternal Dharma body of the Tathagata. So, three poisonous mind, and in the case of Bodhisattva, three poisonous mind works at a threefold pure precept. And when we reach the Buddhahood, those same things function as a three virtue of Buddha. And those are actually one thing. It's not three separate things. Therefore, one mind or one thought create all the different realms depending upon the way it is used. Some fall into the three evil realms because their minds function in an evil way. Some rise to the three good realms because their mind works in a good way. This is within 6 realms of samsara. And some try to get out of all these realms because they hate them and attain the state of no thought. So they try to escape from those 6 realms. And finally, there are some who use their minds and all realms, wherever they are, for the practice of the 3 pure precepts. Those are bodhisattvas. All of them have different names simply because their ways of using one mind are different. The Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas who do not understand reality are afraid of the 3 poisonous minds and the 3 worlds, and are attached to the stage of no thought, no good or no evil. Precisely for this reason, they turn away from the practice of the 3 pure precepts and the 3 perfect virtues, and lose the possibility to attain Buddhahood. So this is Menzan's interpretation of deluded living beings transmigrating within samsara, either good or evil, or the so-called Hinayana practitioners who want to escape from that samsara, and bodhisattva who don't escape from samsara but use those 3 poisonous mind as the 3-fold pure precept. And Menzan said all of them are the different usage of same mind or same life. Well, of course, and Fat Menza is saying that we should live as a bodhisattva. So we should use three poisonous mind as a practice of threefold pure precept. So there's no way, and also it's not necessary to eliminate those three poisonous mind, but we have to find the way how we can use those three poisonous mind in a positive, wholesome way as a threefold pure precept. That is the point of Menzan in this teaching. Then he talk about the persimmon in next paragraph. For example, astringent persimmons become very sweet after having been dried. If we try to squeeze out the astringency, the persimmons will never become sweet. Thus, the astringency of the three poisonous minds becomes the sweetness of the three virtues of Buddha. The Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas cannot produce the sweetness of the three virtues because they try to squeeze out the astringency of the three poisonous mind. So this is the source of Uchiyama Roshi's, idea of using persimmons as a kind of a metaphor of bodhisattva practice. So astringency of unripe persimmon is referred to three poisonous mind, and that is a cause of transmigration within samsara. That means that is a cause of suffering, and that is very basic teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha. Therefore, from the Mahayana point of view, so we should not, anymore take, Fat Menza is saying literally. And actually, I think Fat Buddha taught is not different from Fat Menza is saying here. Especially, when Menza said, instead, we simply eliminate it without adding thought or discrimination. When we just illuminate our mind without adding thought and discrimination, the three poisonous minds of anger, greed, and ignorance also have the nature of being dropped off. That is, of being beyond discrimination and being ungraspable. I think Fat Menzan said here, and last few years I often talk about the Buddha's teaching of dependent origination from the Sutta Nipata, one of the oldest scripture in Buddhism. And Buddha said, there is a condition, I don't like the word condition, but in which there's no, what's the word? No ordinary perception, no disordered perception, without ordinary perception, without disordered perception, and without no perception, and without annihilation of perception. Buddha said in using this expression, and what Menza is saying here, I think is exactly the same thing. And also what Dogen said when he described his zazen, think of not thinking. And his expression, just sitting, or shikantada means doing nothing but sitting. Means we do nothing but sitting. So just let all thought come up and going away is the same thing, I think. So this is the meaning of persimmon. Now I can start to talk what Okumura Roshi is saying. And we almost ran out of time. But let me talk on the first paragraph. So persimmon is a strange fruit. And this persimmon is, same as our life. So our life is a strange thing. Our life creates samsara and also nirvana. Our life means our human life. It's just really strange things. We can create really hell. Even at this moment, there are, some places in this world like a hell. People are hating each other and fighting each other continuously. And also we can create like a heaven, or we can create a condition like a nirvana. So really, all those different conditions are created by our life, human life, which has ability to think. And yet if we think that our thinking is a cause of problem and try to stop thinking, or eliminate our ability to think, then we cannot live. We are really lifeless. So as a bodhisattva practice is to use our thinking without clinging. Use our ability to think, that means to discriminate in a positive way as a bodhisattva practice. So actually this persimmon in Okumura Roshi's and Menzan's writing is about our life. We have, our life has astringency or tannin, and until it's really ripe, we cannot eat. That means we cannot live in a wholesome way. So we have to practice. But our practice is not eliminate that astringency, but we try to find the way, another way to use it in a positive way. So if you eat it before it is fully ripe, it tastes just awful. So our life tastes just awful. I really think, my life before, even after I practiced, until I'm really matured, it's not eatable. So it really takes a long time to practice in this way, because it's not a matter of cut off evil part or a sick part like a cancer, but we have to live with the source of problem and use it in a positive way. So it's not like a surgery. It's not like a one-time surgery to take the cause of suffering away, but we have to transform the way the cause of suffering works. So it takes really a long time. Astringency makes your mouth pucker up. So sometimes we. Okay. Please.
Shohaku, one of the things that I enjoy about Zazen
Mm-hmm.
is that time disappears.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time. So when you talk about persimmon
Mm-hmm.
taking a long time
Mm-hmm.
to ripen,
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean by time?
well, when we sit and focus at this present moment, time disappear means past and future are included within this one moment. So the linear flow of time disappeared because we are only here. And yet, entire past and entire future are included in this one moment. But from another point, as Dogen said in Genjo Koan, using the analogy of firewood and ash, there's a before. Dogen said there is before and after. When firewood is burned, it becomes ash, and ash never return to firewood. So, and he said, at the moment of firewood is only firewood. It's not a matter of before and after. And when the time of ash, it's only the time of ash. The time of firewood is already gone. And ash maybe in the future became, returned to the soil and became another, some part of another tree. And yet when ash, the time of ash, only ash. So there's no before and after. And yet when we think there's a history, live tree is cut. When live tree is cut and dried, it becomes firewood. And the firewood, when it burned, firewood becomes ash. And ash becomes something else. This before and after, or past, present, and future is also there. And when we think of our practice, we have to think from two sides. That is what Dogen is saying in Genjo Koan. When I was 19 years old, I started to practice Zazen. And the teacher who gave me Zazen instruction said, your first Zazen, and Zazen done by very experienced practitioner, like 30, 40 years, and also even the Buddha's Zazen is same Zazen. In that sense, there's no, how can I say, change or difference within time. So my Zazen when I was 19 was, only that. And my Zazen almost 40 years later is just that. So it's not a continuation, and we cannot say when I was 19, 40 years ago, my Zazen was very immature. And now, 40 years later, my Zazen is a little better. If we think in that way, it's a delusion. Only this moment. My Zazen 40 years ago is already gone. So all those things and some, thing in the future also has not yet come. So in my Zazen, only this moment is real Zazen, nothing else. And yet, when I was 19 years old, I didn't really understand these things, and I couldn't talk about, these things. And I had a lot of energy, or foolish energy, and I wanted to do many things, and now I have been losing that kind of foolish energy. That doesn't, simply means I become wiser, but I'm losing that energy. So I feel like more stable and calm down, and I don't do so many foolish things. And now, I can teach about Dogen or about Ucham Roshi's teaching. When I was 19, I knew nothing about those things. So there's some, kind of a continuation and a history and a little bit, development or at least change. But this, history is simply kind of made up in my mind. In our thinking, I can compare my practice when I was 19 or when I was 30, when I was 40, and when I'm 58, and I can think of the change, whether it's good or bad, or positive or negative. That is one way of, thinking about my practice. And what Ucham Roshi is talking here, we should practice for many years or a long time. Actually, he said until the end of our life. That means our practice is not one, as I said, not like a one-time surgery. If I take out some, bad part of my body or my mind, then rest of life, I can live without problems. Our practice is not like that. So we have to practice, moment by moment. But each moment, this is only reality. But moment after moment, we continue to practice for a long time. So we have to see the reality always from both sides of, thinking and beyond thinking. And time belongs to thinking. And no time is, let go or beyond thinking. And if we lose sight of either side, we become kind of extreme to that side or this side. So not only Dogen, but all Buddhist masters or Zen masters speak from two sides. Does it make sense? Okay. Please.
I think lately I've been thinking about precepts more because I have a friend who is practicing with the modified Vinaya precepts.
Mm-hmm.
The old 250 precepts that are very old, but I look through them and sometimes I think, what is this? What good is this? Or what meaning does this have? Or what is really the sense of doing this? Especially given our practice and what you just said and how we don't think about things in either yes or no terms like that. But I was thinking, is there actually some way that those precepts, though, like the Hinayana, so to speak, or precepts, can help the persimmon ripen? There's some way that we don't just do precepts because we're trying to squeeze out the evil, but somehow ripen something in our practice. Is that a way that we can look at those precepts?
I think so. Actually, these threefold pure precept is the kind of was kind of created in Mahayana Buddhism in India. And the reason why they create threefold pure precept as the original was, originally Mahayana Buddhism has no precept, no Vinaya. But there are some monks, Mahayana monks, and those monks received Vinaya precept, even though that is not Mahayana teaching. So they had a kind of excuse, even though they are Mahayana Buddhist, they receive the Vinaya precept and they keep the precept. That the reason the first of threefold pure precept are precept embracing all moral codes. That literally means Vinaya. So even though we are Mahayana Buddhist, we embrace Vinaya precept. That is the origin of those threefold pure precept. And in the case of Dogen, in our tradition, it's a kind of expedient, We don't receive Vinaya precept, and we don't receive 48 minor precept. We only received 3 refuges and threefold pure precept and 10 major precepts. But I think in Dogen's idea, receiving threefold precept, including the precept embracing all moral codes, or Vinaya, it means we don't receive them, and yet we should embrace and respect them. That means we can make choice. Whatever helpful to ripen the persimmon, or to help our bodhisattva practice, we can, take and keep, without saying we keep these precepts, but we keep them because it's healthy. It makes our life healthy. Especially in Eihei Shingi, he picked up many of the regulations or rules from Vinaya. And yet, he didn't say we should, receive Vinaya. But we keep those regulations or rules in a monastic community life because it's helpful to live as a bodhisattva. So I think there is a way, those Vinayas are kind of a very concrete regulations, like laws and regulations in this world, outside of Buddhism. So there's, something we should not do. And if we violate the regulation, there's some, penalty. But Mahayana or Bodhisattva precept is different. There's no penalty in Mahayana precept. But I think these two, concrete regulations, as a member of a community should, keep. And yet, if we cling to each and every regulations and think if you keep these regulations, you are good people. And if not, they are bad people. If we use the precept in that way, and often in many religions, even in Buddhism, precept could be used in this way to make judgment between good people or bad people, or people who may go to paradise or who may go to hell. Is judged based on whether they keep certain precept or taboo or teaching. If we use any precept or regulations or taboo or religious teaching in that way, I think that is a poison. So we should be free from that kind of attitude or clinging to the precept or taboo. But that doesn't mean we can do anything. But to keep our life healthy and help our spiritual growth. Of course, we need to avoid anything unwholesome, and we should practice everything good. And what is good and what is not good, it's not so, how can I say, clear. So if we cling to certain system of regulations or precept, it might be dangerous. We sometimes use, keeping those precepts or regulations as an excuse not to do good thing, to help others. Our life is really strange thing, like a persimmon. Good thing could become a poison, and poison could become a medicine, and medicine become poison, depending upon how we understand, how it works. So, I think there's certain way to integrate these two, I think.
Thank you.
Any other question, please?
Yeah, I was struck when you were talking about the word nen at the
Mhm.
beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that on the one hand, nen is thought, and we talk about going beyond thought, but then you
Mhm.
also said nen is the word used for mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
and mindfulness practice is, a really helpful thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to ask you to explain a little more about that. Now, I thought the explanation you just gave might illuminate it a little bit, but anyway.
Thought and mindfulness.
Yeah. It's like everything is about going beyond thought, and yet mindfulness practice is, I don't know, because it's like it's not a Mahayana practice, but it is a helpful practice.
Well, I think Nen or mindfulness is Mahayana practice. How can we use Nen or mindfulness? Well, as I said, Nen is a present mind or heart. This means to be mindful means our mind or heart is at this present moment, not somewhere else, or not sometime, in the past or future, at this moment. And even though our body is here, often our mind is somewhere else, or that means we think something else, or something about the past, or something about the future. But really just focus on this moment is mindfulness. And by thinking, we lose the sight of this moment. So, this is a very interesting word. This is mindfulness, but this is also thought that make us deviate from mindfulness. So it has two different meanings. You have something to say?
You had read pages from Dogen Zen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you let us know what pages?
Page number? Okay. From page 73 till 77. Yep. Anything else?
Well, so nen actually has sort of two opposite meanings.
Yeah.
And that's actually true in the Japanese language, that it
Yes.
has two opposite meanings. Okay.
Yes. Please.
when we talk about the persimmon
Mm-hmm.
ripening
Mm-hmm.
into sweetness
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to astringency,
Mm-hmm.
in our lives, if we pay attention and are mindful in this moment, is it trust that makes us confident that we will turn into persimmon of sweetness versus astringent?
Trust. I think so. Trust or faith. Our this practice of just be right now, right here, allow us to mature or ripen. So we need a trust or faith in this practice. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, thank you.